Welcome back to the Humus Heritage. Whether you're a longtime gardener fine-tuning your soil science or someone just beginning to dig into the world of amendments, this guide is for you. Today, we're exploring something that might already be sitting in your compost bin or local nut roaster: crushed nutshells. What if the answer to better soil structure and healthier plants has been closer than you think? The dirt on dirt. Andrutsakin son sindir turi. Why aeration matters. Before we talk about solutions, let's talk about the problem. Many gardeners water faithfully, add nutrients religiously, yet still watch their plants struggle. The culprit? Suffocated roots. When soil becomes compacted, water pools on the surface instead of draining properly, oxygen becomes trapped, and roots simply cannot breathe. Even with adequate moisture and nutrients available, plants essentially drown in their own environment. The result is stunted growth, disease susceptibility, and sometimes complete plant failure. For decades, gardeners have reached for the tried-and-true solutions. A spading fork breaks up hardpan, perlite creates those crucial air pockets in container mixes, coarse sand improves drainage in clay-heavy soil. These methods work, and many gardeners swear by them. Yet each comes with limitations. Forking is labor-intensive and can be impractical for large areas or established gardens. Perlite is energy-intensive to produce, often mined from volcanic deposits, making it less sustainable. Sand can actually worsen compaction if not balanced with organic matter. There's friction too. These amendments are sometimes expensive, require purchasing in bulk, and may not feel like genuine solutions when you're working with what nature can provide. What if there was a readily available, often wasted, and genuinely sustainable alternative? What if that solution came from the snack food industry, local orchards, or the pecan pie you enjoyed last Thanksgiving? The unexpected suspect: crushed nutshells. Today we're putting crushed nutshells to the ultimate garden test. The why behind their effectiveness is rooted in simple physics and chemistry. Nutshells possess natural rigidity that resists compaction far better than softer organic materials. Unlike compost or bark mulch that gradually crush under their own weight and foot traffic, nutshell fragments maintain their structural integrity season after season. They decompose slowly, sometimes taking years, meaning they continue creating stable air pockets and drainage pathways long after incorporation into your soil. The magic lies in their unique porous structure. Under a microscope, nutshells reveal countless tiny chambers and irregular surfaces that trap air and water in exactly the right proportions. This architecture creates the ideal environment for beneficial microbes, fungal networks, and root exploration. The shells don't simply sit inert, they actively work with your soil ecosystem to build better tilth and structure. So, nutshells in action. Let's talk about preparation, application, and the benefits you can expect. Not all nutshells are created equal, and understanding the differences between walnut, pistachio, pecan, and peanut shells really helps you choose the right tool for your garden's specific needs. Now, walnut shells, well, they're incredibly hard and break down very slowly. This means they provide long-term aeration and drainage benefits, honestly, kind of like small gravel or even pine cones. However, there's an important caveat you should keep in mind. Black walnut trees produce a chemical called juglone, which actually inhibits the growth of many plants, a phenomenon known as allelopathy. While processed, dry walnut shells contain far less juglone than green husks or fresh leaves. The risk is still there. If you're growing sensitive plants like tomatoes, peppers, or certain herbs, you might prefer other options. That said, walnut shells work beautifully for establishing new beds, creating pathways, or amending soil around allelopathy-tolerant plants like garlic or marigolds. Pistachio shells. The balanced choice. Pistachio shells emerge as perhaps the most versatile option for general gardening. They have a rigid structure and possess a slightly alkaline nature, which makes them excellent for balancing acidic soil without requiring lime application. They excel at creating the air gaps that prevent compaction and root rot, making them particularly valuable as a bottom layer in container gardens where drainage is critical. Beyond aeration, pistachio shells offer a pleasant side benefit. Their rough, sharp texture deters slugs and snails, providing natural pest management. As they decompose, they release trace minerals including calcium, potassium, and magnesium, slow-release nutrients that gradually feed your plants over months or even years. Their neutral appearance in garden beds also makes them aesthetically pleasing. Pecan shells, the middle ground. Pecan shells represent an excellent middle path between rapid decomposition and long-term structure. They break down faster than walnut shells but more slowly than peanut shells, offering sustained aeration benefits throughout a full growing season and beyond. As they decompose, pecan shells help lower soil pH slightly, making them particularly suited for acid-loving plants like blueberries, rhododendrons, and azaleas. They maintain soil looseness while contributing to moisture retention, a delicate balance that prevents both waterlogging and drought stress. The rough texture also deters crawling pests, and they develop an attractive dark appearance when used as mulch, giving your garden beds a finished, polished look. Many gardeners consider pecan shells the most aesthetically pleasing option for visible mulching applications. Peanut shells, really offer a light touch. They're lighter and less dense than walnut, pistachio, or pecan shells, so they're just perfect for aerating lighter soils and adding some structure to your compost piles. In dry climates, peanut shells are great at retaining moisture without clogging up the soil pores. They create little pathways for water storage, but don't cause the waterlogging problems that you might get with denser materials. And peanut shells actually decompose more quickly than their harder cousins, so as they break down, they add beneficial carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus to your soil. It's kind of like having a slow-release fertilizer built right in. This really makes peanut shells especially valuable in vegetable gardens where, honestly, annual nutrient replenishment is super important. So, before you use any nutshells, just make sure they're clean and free from excessive salt. Roasted nuts from the grocery store are often really heavily salted, and that leftover salt can actually harm your plants and mess with the soil microbiology. Rinsing those salted shells thoroughly and letting them dry completely is, well, absolutely essential. If you want to use them as an aeration amendment in your soil, go ahead and crush the shells into smaller pieces. About the size of pebbles is perfect. This increases the surface area and helps with even mixing throughout your soil profile. When you're using nutshells as a top mulch or maybe as a drainage layer at the bottom of containers, you can actually leave the shells whole or just break them into larger pieces. This way, they'll last longer and still do the job. The incorporation ratio matters. You'll want to mix a generous handful of crushed shells per gallon of soil or potting mix, spreading them throughout rather than concentrating them in one area. This prevents clumping and, ensures your soil benefits from uniform aeration and improved root propagation. For containers, just fill the bottom inch with crushed shells before adding your potting mix for superior drainage. Beyond aeration, there are hidden benefits and practical considerations. Crushed nutshells offer several benefits beyond simple aeration. As mentioned, different shells contribute trace minerals and adjust soil pH as they decompose. Pistachio shells adding alkalinity, pecan shells adding slight acidity. Some shells, particularly pistachio, genuinely deter pests through their sharp texture alone. They also contribute carbon to your soil ecosystem, feeding the beneficial microbes and fungi that make your garden come alive. In mulched form, they help regulate soil temperature and moisture throughout the growing season. Yet practicality matters. Sourcing nutshells requires some creativity. Local nut roasters, processors, and bakeries often have shells to spare. Farmers markets may connect you with small orchard operations. Online communities and local gardening groups frequently share sources or even swap shells. You might investigate whether your community's waste streams include nut processing facilities willing to partner with gardeners. It's all about being resourceful and tapping into local networks, you know? One crucial caveat. Roasted and salted shells must be thoroughly rinsed. Nut allergies, while they shouldn't affect your soil, might concern sensitive household members who work in the garden. Wash your hands after handling shells if allergies are a concern. Additionally, watch for potential contamination from processing chemicals, though most commercial shells are relatively clean. So, just keep these points in mind to ensure a safe and healthy gardening experience. The verdict in your garden's future. Crushed nutshells represent a genuine alternative to conventional aeration amendments. They can really make a difference in your garden's health and productivity, so why not give them a try and see the benefits for yourself? They're sustainable, often free or low cost, locally available, and genuinely effective at improving soil structure and plant health. They're not a miracle cure. No single amendment is, but they're a legitimate tool deserving space in your gardening toolkit. The slight pH adjustments certain shells provide, the pest deterrents, the slow-release nutrients, and the long-term structural benefits all add up to real improvements in garden performance. The best way to know if they'll work for your garden is to try them yourself. Start small, use crushed pistachio shells in a container or bed you're already planning to refresh. Track your observations through a growing season. Notice how your plants respond, how water drains, how easily you can work the soil come autumn. Share what you discover with fellow gardeners online, in your local community, or right here in our channel comments. Your soil is uniquely yours, shaped by climate, rainfall, existing composition, and the history of what you've grown there. The experiments you run with nutshells become data points in your personal gardening knowledge base, far more valuable than any guide could be. We'd love to hear about your experiences with crushed nutshells. Have you tried them? What were your results? Don't forget to subscribe to the Humus Heritage for more deep dives into soil science, sustainable amendments, and practical techniques that actually work. Share this guide with fellow gardeners in your life. They might discover their next gardening breakthrough through nutshells too. Happy growing!